we're really happy to be holding our second free webinar. And we have the wonderful Angelika Klotz with us, all the way from New Zealand. And she's chosen a great topic to present on, which I think will be really useful. We've been through just a few little items, which I might just repeat here, but we're all on mute at the moment. But we are encouraging you to ask questions, and there's a little chat bar at the bottom, which at any time you can enter your questions there. And towards the end of the presentation, Angelika is going to look through those questions and answer them. So let me please introduce Angelika. She's originally from Germany. She spent time in Taiwan learning about traditional Chinese medicine, including acupuncture, and then I hope I've got that correct, Tui Na, I think it is, correct. That's Chinese massage, and also reflexology. And then she went on to Hong Kong, where she studied aromatherapy and then colour puncture, which is esogetic medicine. So today she's going to present on simple, practical ways to use colour to help relieve stress and anxiety. So welcome, Angelika. Thank you so much for coming on, and fire away.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and welcome to everybody. I'm going to start to share my screen so you can follow my descriptions, okay? Okay, can you all see my screen? Yeah, okay, fantastic. The title of what I chose to talk about is dealing with stress in difficult times. And when I was kind of reviewing the title, I thought, yes, we had difficult times, but I think the most difficult part of what we have been through, or what we are still going through, is that these times are uncertain, okay? And uncertainty, I read an interesting study over the weekend, and uncertainty is actually the hardest of a human to deal with. And they did a study where they put people in a room. They didn't tell them what they had to do there. They didn't know how long they would stay there. They had no idea. And afterwards, they gave them choices of what would have been better than just waiting in the room for something to happen. And especially men, though, chose it would be more pleasant to receive electrical shocks than to wait in a room with uncertainty, right? So they were not outside exposed to the elements, they were in a room, and even there people chose to rather receive something potentially harmful for that matter, instead of just being exposed to something where they had no idea of what was going to happen. And I think this is the main reason people feel so stressed in these times, because we don't know how long the situation is going to last. You know, it's almost hard to make any plans. Just the other day, I was talking to one of my students, and Peter Mandel, who is the originator of esogetics, the color and light therapy that I will be talking about today, he celebrates his 80th birthday next year. So a few of us will come together and go and have a party with him. And she said, oh, you know, do you really think we will be able to travel again? And that's exactly it. We don't know, right? We don't know if we will be able to travel again next year. And so it's hard to make plans. It is hard to, you know, to stay in this now where we don't know what's going to happen. So I thought this is, you know, difficult and uncertain. These are the times we are in. And so I put together a few things that will help us in these uncertain times, because stress levels are clearly elevated, anxiety, and all of this brings forward few issues. For instance, digestive issues. Also, some people have more hormonal imbalances that they would normally have, or they feel very restless. There is a light at the end of every tunnel. So that's for sure, right? It's just, we don't know how long the tunnel is, right? And some tunnels are just happen to be longer than others. But we should concentrate on the light. And that's why we are here today, because the light brings hope into people's lives. And so that's what we should be concentrating on. So this is one of the modules that Peter Mandel from Isogetics shares with us. So we are working this information, and it's universal information, right? So if you could also call it universal energy, universal consciousness, or God, you know, whatever your term is for that. And that's the information. And only if we feel separate from that information, then we are getting into trouble. So, but if we have information, or if we have a connection to information, then the energy that you see on your lower left-hand corner of your screen can flow and eventually give impact to matter. Matter is the human body, right? So information, we could also say, information is a wave, the wave of light, for instance, light that we use in this particular therapy. And matter is the particle that the wave collapses in. So the wave gives impact to the matter, the wave gives impact to the cells of our human body, and gives impact to the particle in the cells. So this is just the background, right? So light as an information carrier and an information energy conveyor, so to speak. I like to consider health as like a pendulum. So if we look at these old clocks that have they are swinging in a certain rhythm, our health is that kind of rhythm, right? Health is never a stable, it's never stable as such. We always swing in certain parameters in our health paradigm. And this rhythm of health is different for everybody. That is something we need to consider, right? Some people swing in bigger amplitudes and others have smaller amplitudes, and that's perfectly fine. What we don't want, though, that the pendulum suddenly gets stuck on one side or on the other side, so it can't continue with its rhythm. And when we get stuck, for instance, in pain, right, it would be on the one side, or sleeplessness, or digestive issues, or stress and anxiety, we want to give an impulse that the rhythm can go back into swinging harmoniously, okay? And this is what we want to achieve with light and with color. And everybody's needs in these rhythms are different, right? So that's why we need to look at people. So if you are a therapist, we need to look at every client and see where do they come from, where do they sit. And if you are the receiver or a lay person who wants to understand this, be assured that your own healing rhythm should get back into the swing. You have to have trust that you get back into the swing. And as a therapist, we want to be the giver of an impulse that the person can go back to swinging in their own harmonious rhythm. And why we do that, we give hope. We give hope to the clients that their bodies are able to heal, because all of us have this ability, and it's just in these times that we forget it, or we are not so assured that we have this ability. Okay, so I just thought I remind you to in that respect, because when we talk about color and light, it sounds very specific, but color and light is just an impulse giver, so we can go all back into our rhythm, into our healthy rhythm. So I wanted to talk first about hormones and how they influence an emotional response in us. For Peter Mandel, the hormonal system is the first target for stress, and that is a system that is most easily getting out of balance when we are in stress. So that's the reason I'm starting with the hormonal system. So I'm pretty sure many of you are aware about how the endocrine pattern works, the hormonal influence of different glands. But I just thought I'd give you just a quick brief overview of how the hormonal system is kind of intertwined. Now I leave all these very complicated medical names out of all these different hormones. We don't need to really go in such details. But what I want you to take away is how everything in our body is connected, quite divinely, really. So the most important glands really that we want to target when we look at how our endocrine response is the pineal and the pituitary. The pineal, you can see in this picture, is the under 8. It's a tiny little gland, and it is the gland that produces melatonin and serotonin. So it is kind of, we call it the happy gland, because it has to do with our happiness, with our joy. And also it is important excretion of melatonin, which is the main hormone for sleep. So if your sleep rhythm is interrupted, especially in these times, because you have to think a lot and your thoughts don't calm down, then most probably you have a brain rhythm disturbance through not the correct level of melatonin. And melatonin has a direct influence on our nervous system. That's why when we are not sleeping well, many of us get very nervous, restless, or further down, it affects our blood flow and especially the kidneys, right? So eventually when people don't sleep very well for quite a while, then there is an influence on many other organ systems in the body. The other very important part of our hormonal system is the pituitary gland. And we often call the pituitary gland the master gland, because the pituitary is the gland that is connected to all other glands in the body. And it receives constant feedback from the other glands or even other organ systems in the body. And according to the feedback it receives, it then releases further hormones. So the pituitary governs, for instance, the thyroid, the thymus, the pancreas, the adrenals, the ovaries, or the testes, depending on if we are talking about men or women. And we have also meanwhile found that many other organs, like the heart, for instance, also produces small amounts of hormones, as does the liver. So next to all these very obvious hormonal glands, we do have other organ systems that also excrete hormones. Now, with the influence of the pituitary glands on the rest of the body, it influences so many things in our lives, right? It influences the growth, it influences your metabolism, it influences your libido and your ability to carry children, and then eventually once you give birth, childbirth, it governs as well, and then also breast milk flow. It governs, I already said that, the metabolism, your strength of your bones, your water household through the adrenals and the kidneys, energy levels through the influence of the pancreas and the sugar metabolism, temperature regulation, and so much more. So it's truly a master gland that is connected to a lot of other glands in the body. Now, the gland that is most affected by stress in these times is actually our adrenals. The adrenals are two little glands under G that sit just above the kidneys. And so the adrenals produce sex hormones as one of their duties, but they also produce adrenaline and cortisol. They are very much involved in our stress response, in the fight-flight stress response. And if we have a too high stress response constantly in our body, and the adrenals have never downtime of not producing stress hormones, our body gets eventually in trouble. And that's when we go into adrenal exhaustion or chronic fatigue. And for that not to happen, we want to balance the hormonal system before that's actually happening. Okay, so in order to balance, we can use a few very easy to find points on your forehead and also on your lower back. Now, the 2 points, we are targeting the hypothalamus first. The hypothalamus is kind of the theme giver of how your hormonal system is reacting. It gives the milieu, the equilibrium, the ambience, the environment, your internal environment for the hormones to be excreted and to arrive at their prospect target. So we want to make sure that the hypothalamus is happy, because it also has a strong impact on your mucous membranes. And your mucous membranes are quite important in your immune defense, right? Just imagine your nose, the mucous membrane in your nose, your mouth, which is the first barrier if you would catch a virus, for instance, or any other bacteria or any other infections. So the points are quite easy to find. You look straight, and that's what we call the mid-eye line. If you would drop like a vertical line through your pupils. And the line that is horizontal is your mid-forehead line. So you find the middle of your forehead, and where the mid-forehead line and the pupil line cross each other, that's where you find the hypothalamus points on either side, on the left side and above your right eye. Now, contrary to what is shown here on the picture, it's not a stable having the orange point on above your left eye and the blue point above your right eye. You kind of test both points, and the point that is more painful receives the cooler color. So in that particular example, it would be that the point that is more painful receives the blue color, and the other point receives orange. Orange is more invigorating, and blue would be calming for the point that is more painful. Both colors, blue and orange, are targeting the hormonal production in your body. So we do have a few other points that we will treat with blue and orange. Now, I know that many of you won't have the tool that I will introduce you to later, but my idea for everybody to use are these little sticky colors that you can buy in any paper shop, in any stationery shop, and you can just put these little dots on the points that we are discussing today. You can find all colors in these little dots, and so you just glue them on your forehead and on your sacrum. So this is just the middle of your sacrum. Your sacrum is a diamond-shaped bone at the very end of your spinal column, at the very end of your spine. So it sits just above, in the middle of your butt cheeks, so to speak, if I may use that language. And in the middle of that bone, if you can't find it yourself, it is okay if you just use the top points on the forehead. I just thought I also introduce you to that particular point because it's an easy to learn point. Or easy to find point, I should say. Okay, so then we also have points for the pituitary, and as discussed, the pituitary is such an important master gland. So if you ever feel that your hormonal system is out of balance, which eventually also would bring forward certain emotional reactions, then balancing the pituitary is always indicated and very beneficial. So again, points easy to find. The points right on the inside of your eyes are just next to the bridge of your nose. And the other 2 points are, for those who studied acupuncture, are the same point as stomach 1. So on the stomach meridian, the first stomach points, they are again on your pupil line, and where you would, when you again get a vertical line through your pupils and you hit your upper edge of your eye socket bone, right? So the bone where your eye socket sits in, that's where you find that point. And again, you would use it in a way where the more painful part of the 2 points receives blue and the other point receives orange to balance the hormonal system. We are always looking for balance. That's exactly what the pendulum is about, right? We always want to bring things into balance. Okay, and the next one are points for the pineal gland. Again, as a reminder, the pineal gland that brings us healthy sleep and really good circadian rhythm and helps us to flex our joy muscle, I say, okay? So the middle point is a well-known acupuncture point called Yin Chuan, and it's just what we would call in the chakra system the third eye, right? So the point in between your eyebrows. And if you use only that particular point, you would use red on that. If you use the complementary points on either side of your mid-pupil line and your eyebrow line, so they sit on the eyebrow, you would go with orange and blue. Red is to stimulate the pineal, right? We want to really make sure the pineal is active and gives you good sleep, right? Good production of melatonin. Latest studies actually found that we have earlier and earlier what they call sending of the pineal. So there are sends, like little calcifications in the pineal, which hinders the normal function. And they found, meanwhile, that 47% of the 17-year-old youth in America have already calcifications in their pineal. Things that happen in probably the olden days much later, because sending of the pineal is attributed to diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So can you imagine what happens to these young adults that, you know, before they even reach full adulthood and they are already starting with calcifications of their pineal? That's quite sad. So we want to keep the pineal happy, we want to keep it active, and we don't want to have that happen. Because the other thing that the pineal is also attributed with is depression, and that has to do with the production of serotonin. So if your pineal would get tired and is not able to produce you know, normal levels of hormones anymore, we find that also that brings forward depression in people. So if you are finding that you are a little bit depressive, on the depressive side, using these points can be totally beneficial. Now, if we would treat with light and color, we would stimulate these points maximum for 1 minute. Usually in a treatment, just 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds. If you use these sticky points, then use them for like 5 to 10 minutes. Leave them on and have the impact of the color reaching these points and give an impulse to these points. Okay. And then we have the limbic point. Now, the limbic system is not part of the hormonal system, but it is, and the limbic system in the brain is engaged with learning, memory, and also with the emotional response. And that's why I put this point in here, because if you find that your emotions are running high and you want a proper emotional digestion, so to speak, then activating or calming the limbic system is very beneficial. Now, you can use either yellow if you want to stimulate the limbic system. That would be a good, if you want to learn, if you want to concentrate, if you want to flex again your happy muscle, then activate the limbic system with yellow. You find the limbic point a finger width, and that's a finger width is like this, right? If you take a measurement of one of your finger above yin chuang. So yin chuang was the middle point between your eyebrow, and if you go a finger above it, that's where the limbic point is. Excuse me a second. Just a second. So as I said, if you want to stimulate it, then use yellow. If you want to calm it, then use purple or violet on it. That's a super point also to use for children if they have trouble concentrating, even following in class. Like if I have children coming into my clinic with learning difficulties, I always show them this point, and they can just stimulate it themselves by massaging it and imagining maybe yellow flowing into that point, because they don't feel comfortable, of course, sitting with a sticky point in school. But if they imagine yellow coming into that point, that helps them already quite well. Then we have another point that helps you to digest some of your emotional upheavals that might be troubling you in these times. And this point is easily to find. It is, for those who studied acupuncture, it's called CV12. So it's on the Ren meridian, on the middle meridian on your front body, and it's halfway between the tip of your breastbone. So if you go to the very tip of your breastbone and you find your navel and you find the distance in between the breastbone and the navel and you go halfway, that's where this point sits. And it correlates roughly with our solar plexus. The solar plexus, where a lot of nerve endings come together. And so it's quite an important point in many ways. It helps also, it's kind of our middle, right? So it's a point of personal strength. And we would stimulate it with yellow. It also helps us to harmonize the stomach. So for people who are often stressed, they find kind of imbalances in the stomach, and it helps to balance the acidity in the stomach, and with the lymph flow in the entire chest and abdominal area, which is very important for your immune response. And it helps to balance the energy flow between your brain and your intuition, which sits in your gut. So yeah, the energy flow between the upper and the lower body, which is quite important. And then these are 2 points that are beautiful to balance, to calm. The front point sits on your hairline in your midline. So like if you would have a midline through your nose and on the hairline, and then you find the exact point on the back of your head. So like if you would look from the side and you would cut through your head, then on the same level on the back, and the back point gets blue and the front point gets orange. And that's a super balancing if you feel nervous, if you feel restless, if you feel spasms or headaches, and can also be used for asthma, to calm down asthma. So it's a very calming, balancing combination, these 2 points. And then we have a center point in the forehead that we love to use with crystals, but you can also just put only a sticky point there with purple. And again, it's a very restful point that calms a lot of different nerve endings, from calming your thoughts, calming your digestive areas, calming your breathing. It's kind of supportive for meditation as well, the midpoint of your forehead. So there are different colors you can use, like blue, for instance, for sleeping, green if you just want general relaxation, and purple is very calming. So these would be the 3 coolish colors that help you to calm down. You can use natural crystals if you like, and if you have some as your disposals. Amethyst would be fantastic to use on those points, or sodalite or lapis lazuli, which are blue colored, to get some sleep, for instance. Yeah. So, and talking about sleep, I wanted to introduce you to a couple of points that are super for sleep, in case in these times you're experiencing sleep problems. So there are 4 points on your forehead that are correlating with the 4 different brain waves in your body. Okay. So the red point would be the point that sits, all these points sit on a finger width above your eyebrow level, right? So it's on one line on your forehead, and they have different cross points on your face. So the red and yellow one are again through your mid pupil, and the red point is correlates to the alpha brainwave. The alpha brainwave is a brainwave that is active during meditation, and it's a calming brainwave. The yellow point is the beta brainwaves, which is our most active brainwave. It's active when we learn, when we are doing things during the day. The blue and green one, the blue is theta, which is the dreaming brainwave, the brainwave that we need at night to rejuvenate our brain. And the green one is the delta brainwave, which gives us very deep brainless, very deep sleep without dreaming. That's what I wanted to say, dreamless sleep, very deep sleep. And that's what we need for the regeneration of our body. So just, you know, if you just glue all 4 points on your forehead, you should be assured that all your brainwaves should be fairly balanced, and you would receive also the impact for very beneficial sleeping pattern brainwaves. If you just have trouble sleeping, just using the blue and red can be enough as well. And then we have 3 additional points that you can use on, and you would use them in purple or blue, blue for sleep, purple for just general calming. Yin Chuan, you know already, the point in between your eyebrows. Then the same point on the back, which we also already discussed. So it's, you find that if you go just on the back of the head, and then the top of the head is easy to find if you go to the tip of your ears and reach up with your middle finger, and you find what used to be your fontanelle. So the, you know, the open area when you were born as a child, which is still a soft spot on the top of your head, which we would call in the chakra realms, it would be the crown chakra. In Chinese medicine, that's GV20, the acupuncture point GV20. And all these points would get blue for sleep or purple for general calming. Again, you leave the points on for 5 to 10 minutes. Do this not immediately before you go to sleep. Do that an hour or 2 hours before you go to sleep. And that should regulate your pineal gland and your brain waves accordingly. And you should get a really good night's sleep after this. Now, I also wanted to talk a little bit how we can support our immune system. And there are a few points for that we can help. So these are activation points for your immune system and for draining the lymph. Both is important that your immune system reacts well. So in case you do get sick, these are points you can stimulate just by rubbing them, or again, like I said, with color and light, or just the color points. So the top point is the top of the sternum, in your little notch here, in your breastbone, and that receives the color yellow. Then we have the middle of the breastbone. So you look at the top and you look at the bottom and you find the middle, which gets the color purple. And that has a direct influence on your thymus, versus the top point has an influence on the lymph flow in your chest area. Then we have CV12, the point halfway, which we had discussed before, which is such a great balancing point, which gets yellow again. And then we have 3 points around your navel. It's not so easy to see on this picture, but it's basically on one side there are 2 points, and on the other side is only 1 point. On your left-hand side is only 1 point. But all of them get in the diagonal 2 fingers from your navel. So yeah, 3 points. It doesn't matter, you could use a 4th one as well if you are not so sure with the side. The main reason is to set this grid around the navel, and all these points receive green. And you will find, if you are fighting something, that these points can be quite painful when you palpate them or you massage them. So supporting your lymph flow in your abdominal area and the immune response is super good on all these points, right? So these are points that you can support very well for the immune response. And so then I wanted to talk a little bit about releasing anxiety and fear. Now there are 3 points around your nose, very easy to find, that get yellow, orange, and red. So the tip of the nose is orange, the middle of the bridge of the nose is yellow, and then your area between the nose and the lip gets red. And then the red point underneath your feet, which is kidney 1, for those of you who have acupuncture knowledge. So that point sits when you look at your feet between the middle of your feet and the sides. It's from each side is the middle and more towards the top. When you look at your feet, you have reddish skin on the ball of the feet, and then it turns into a more whitish skin further down, and that's where the skin changes. That's exactly where that point sits. It's quite a painful point. It is a point that can take people out of shock when you really give a strong impulse. You will see when you massage it, it's very grounding. It's a beautiful point to replenish your adrenals, to help your adrenals in times of stress. And the 3 other points in your face will release fear, anxiety, and worry, everything that we carry along these days, right? And then I do have 2 more points with you to share. Oh no, actually 3 more points. So this is a hard 3 for those of you who have studied acupuncture, and it's a point easy to find when you bend your elbow and you look at the crease that comes in just above the bone on your inside elbow. That's where hard 3 is. Again, it can be difficult. It can be quite sensitive for some people. And again, you would look for the more painful side, right? So if both sides are equally painful, then use blue. If you find one side more painful, that side receives blue and the other side receives orange. And that point calms the heart and brings forward more stability and peace, something that we all need in these times. And then I included points for the thalamus, because the thalamus is kind of our gate to consciousness. It can open the awareness. All our sensory organs except smell goes through the thalamus, and when we open our awareness to the possibilities that are out there, even though we are living in these uncertain times, we can find much more joy and happiness being in the now. Okay, now again, we are working on your mid-pupil line, and the other line is now just our hairline that we cross it to. In this case, again, look for the more painful point receives green, the cooling color, and the other point would receive red. And then on your lower back, the lower back point is your coccyx, so the very, very tip of your spine. You might want to find that yourself if you are keen to. Otherwise, just use the top points on your head. It gives, as I said, it opens our awareness. It opens our thoughts to giving possibility, curiosity, and an adaptability to change, right? We want to welcome the changes in our lives. Okay, and the last point that also connects us to the heart is on your, it's on C7, cervical spine 7, which is a big, like if you start palpating your spine in your neck and you follow your neck down, you reach to one bone that is quite big, the biggest bone in your neck, on your lower neck, and that is C7. It's a beautiful point to release fear, and it balances your solar plexus, your stomach, your energy flow. As I said, it has a heart connection, it opens your heart. That's all what we want, right? We want more love, more kindness in our world. So we have a beautiful engagement with the people that come into our lives. It also has a relationship to the subconscious mind. So we are 95% of our days are run by the subconscious mind. So we don't want to be slaves to our subconscious. So, you know, opening up, again, awareness and helping with processing of emotion and the stress that is going on in these times is most relevant. Yes, so I just quickly wanted to introduce you to our equipment. Like I said, you know, I don't expect you all to buy the torch and the light. You can work very well with these sticky notes and with a normal torch, right, that you probably have in your household, and then shine the light on the point that you stick on your skin. If you want to, however, work with more professional equipment, we have these very durable torches that have attachments on the front. They are hand blown, mouth blown, glass rods that are infused with colors. We have the 7 rainbow colors. We also have a flat focus torch, which is very easy to use for people who are not, you know, have difficulties finding these points because these areas is larger. These 2 torches can be bought in a set, like it's shown here, or separate. We have crystals, like this beautiful activator crystal there. They are quite big, I show them here, and they are beautifully crafted in conjunction with the Swarovski company. And when you put, that's like a crystal we would put on the forehead, what I showed earlier. And then we have a little machine there. That's a brainwave machine that helps your brain to get back into the rhythm that is supportive. And there are different ready-made programs that your brain can copy once it has lost certain ideas of how, for instance, to get to sleep, or if you are restful, if you find yourself being too stressed, this machine can help to take you out of these problematic situations. Manisha, I have to say, sorry, I just quickly go back. I can't, because I'm sharing my screen, I cannot see the chat box at the moment. Can you tell me if there were questions?
There are some questions.
Okay, yes, please.
And people can feel free to enter now any questions that they have in the chat box, and I can read them out.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Andrew.
So the first one is, are you shining color on the points or placing stickers on the points? I think you've explained that now. I think that question came from earlier, but if you wanted to mention it anymore, you could. If shining color, how long do you shine on each point?
If you have equipment like this, you shine 30 seconds to 1 minute. If you work with the dots, then use them for like 5 to 10 minutes. If you just wear them, if you use them together with the torch, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you working out which is the most painful point?
Oh, just massage with your finger. Just massage both points and find, you know, put a little bit of pressure on it and see which point feels a little bit more sensitive. Usually there is one point that is more sensitive. If you are saying they're both equal, then it's your decision. If you want to stimulate that particular point, then use the more warming color. If you want to calm the points, then use the cooling color.
Okay, and next one is, do you ever shine complementary colors at the same time on the different points, or only one after another?
Well, if it would be at the same time, you would need 2 torches, right? So in our system, we wouldn't do that. We would do that one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
If it's complementary, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you use the brain entrainment device?
Oh yes, so there are 2 wristbands that go with it, and you just attach it to, or you put it around your wrist, and that's how the body is induced with the brainwave.
Okay.
Yes.
So another question I've got is with the activator.
Yes.
So do you shine light through the activator, or you just let it?
No. The active, well, you could if you wanted to, but you don't need to. The facets are taken from the flower of life, and so it's sacred geometry, and just by putting it on, it will capture the light. Right now, if you could see it, you know, because I have the light shining here, there are all sparkles going in this direction, so it catches the light. It catches the light. You don't need to shine extra light on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it actually acts like a focal point for the particular area you put it on. It actually focuses the light onto that area.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions? Oh, here we go. Is there a booklet with diagrams of these treatments?
Well, if you're interested, I could, I have my email at the end. Just email me and I can send you the presentation if you're interested. And then you can.
Yeah, I'm sure other people would be interested for sure.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Thank you indeed for the presentation. I'm just going to grab back host. Well, you've got more slides. One more slide.
Oh, I just wanted to tell people if you are interested to learn more about the system, I'm running a few classes in October. One is what we call the function cycle, which is derived from the 5-element system in Chinese medicine. In the 5-element system in Chinese medicine, you make correlation from different elements to organs, tissues, emotions. And so by treating certain elements, you treat so much, you really treat holistically. And so it's a super opportunity to learn a lot in a really short time. So that's on October 10 and 11, and this course is usually part of our certification program, but it can be taken by anybody. And you don't need to have previous knowledge about anything. You will learn all the philosophies behind it in the course. And of course, consequent treatments for each of the elements. And then I'm running a basic introduction workshop on October 24 and 25, where we look at the history and philosophy of esotretic, how Peter came about to develop color puncture, and some basic color puncture treatment, like for immune defense, a skin treatment, for concentration and learning behavior, and for sleep. So you have already learned the sleep, part of the sleep today. So there are some more other things you would learn in that introduction workshop. So if you're interested in any of those, thank you first and foremost for listening to me. Here are some of the websites. For Australia, it's colourtherapy.com.au or colourtherapy.net.nz for New Zealand, but it doesn't matter, it goes to the same website. If you want to find a practitioner, or if you want to get a little bit more information, or if you want to email me personally, there's my email as well, angelichealing@yahoo.co.nz. If you have further questions after this presentation, I'm happy to answer any of your questions, or if you want to have the presentation sent to you, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, and if you're able to put the URL or the email addresses in the chat, just to save people from trying to type it out, that'd be awesome. But also, what was I going to say? It's not coming to me. All right. So what I'll do is I'll regain control of the chat, if that's all.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm just going to unmute Manisha. Well, Manisha, you can unmute yourself. But
okay.
Also in the chat window, Amanda's mentioned that we are recording this, so we will send it, the recording out to everyone, so you can have, go over the material again.
And Angelika, thank you so much. We've had lots of comments in the chat saying thank you for the great information, and I agree totally. It's fantastic information. I just had the question, what are your costs on running these workshops, and what sort of hours are they, just for the people who might be interested in following up with you?
Well, the 5-element one is running Melbourne time from 10 to 1 and 2 to 5 on Saturday and 10 to 1 on Sunday, Melbourne time, and that's $250. For the other workshop, I have not set a time yet. It depends who signs up. I'm happy to accommodate people in Australia again. Yeah, I have to see who signs up really. And it's also $250. So I can be very flexible with the timing.
Excellent. That's great. Well, maybe we can send out some more links or information on our newsletter so people can find out a bit more about that in our follow-up with the recording. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Lovely. Are there any other questions before we go for Angelika? We've had so many thank yous.
Well, I just hope it really is supportive for people to, use some of these points and play around with them and see how you feel with it. I mean, that's what it is all about.
Yes. We've also got another question here. Do you need to do the first course before the intro to esogetics?
No. I will tailor it that people who have not done anything can do the 5 elements, and the intro is really an intro, but anybody, all the courses I said here are, open to anybody.
Fantastic. I think that'd be a great way into the whole area of colour puncture. So excellent that you can offer that. That's wonderful. And have we got anything else here before we go? Lovely. Lots of thank yous to you, Angelika. And yeah, that's great. So once again, that's wonderful. And I just wanted to let everyone know that this is a monthly occurrence that we're running free webinars. We're going to just watch out for our next one, which is going to be exciting too. So wonderful that you've all attended. So thank you all.